non-duality and spiritual bypassing. So on this journey, we can get introduced to non-duality teachings and talks and understandings, and a lot of striving to intellectually understand non-duality, like it's something to grasp and achieve, and like anything kind of like that we've been programmed, we can just kind of retain it and memorize it. And if we memorize it, then I guess we have it, right? It's not like that. But it's not our fault to kind of think that way. That's what we've been programmed, right? Go to school, right? Memorize a bunch of information and then basically regurgitate it on a test and then get a score. You passed. Good job. 90%, right? And then think that we're smart. You can't. This stuff, enlightenment, self-realization, you can't intellectually get it. It's beyond the mind. So there's that. Then there's this, awakening that can occur by getting a glimpse, by getting like an experience, a taste of it. And then you can kind of get into this dangerous, almost like lifeless type of place where you can think that, okay, there's no one here to do anything. There's nothing to do. Like this type of place, right? It's all just happening. There's nothing to do. But meanwhile, there's still triggering that's happening. There's still emotional wounding that's present. There's still suffering. There's still a bunch of stuff that's going on. But what I'm seeing is almost it's almost just as big as the belief in separation that was happening before the realization or the experience, whatever happened for those, is now there's a greater separation of almost, okay, well, I'm in denial of the body and the emotional reactivity that's happening and the triggering and the wounds and the sadness and all these feelings are still there, but it's kind of like, not my feelings. There's nobody there. These are just feelings of uncomfortable. Not my suffering. No, right? It's funny because in lower consciousness, there's this immaturity, which is very much, you see this with kids, immaturity and not wanting to take responsibility, right? Responsibility is the ability to respond. And if you don't have the ability to respond, then you're going to feel powerless, right? And it's coming from a very immature state of the ego. And then we become empowered as the ego, as a separate self, whatever you want to call it. Then there's ability to make different choices. We're becoming more aware, more disciplined, more willingness, right? It's becoming more mature. And it's funny because when you're seeing is some people have a glimpse or sometimes there's no glimpse, there's no realization. There's just kind of a new belief system that is then adopted. The non-duality teachings are saying that there's no one here and there's nothing happening, and it's just a dream. Nothing to do, right? It's dangerous because it can get you into this space that it's very much like what you experience in the lower states of consciousness as this victim, this apathy, this kind of denial of what's happening. It's just another form of denial. It's just another form of denial. And it's not wanting to deal with things that are arising. It's, again, suppress that and trying to escape it. Where that's not, there's still more to go. That's like, it's kind of like on the spiritual journey, on the path, that's kind of like just camping out in one spot. There's still more to go. There's still more to go. Right? Because how can that be totality, completion, wholeness? There's still a denial of a part of you, what's happening. There's still a denial of feelings. There's not that integration of the feelings. There's not the transformation of the feelings. There's no wholeness. There's more separation. These feelings, I still don't want to deal with them. I'm woke though, right? Kind of get into that. And that's what I'm seeing. And kind of, I'm new to this spirituality stuff, but it's very clear when you have the clarity to see. You're just seeing that it's just another kind of level. I don't want to use like the mountain kind of thing and say, I'm at the top. I'm not trying to say that, but just to give you the visual, it's like Mount Everest and someone just kind of camping on not the peak of the mountain, but like a high spot that's kind of pointy and saying, here it is, right? It's just kind of camping out on that high spot, thinking that it's the top, right? And let's say there is no top. Let's just say it's infinite, right? That way you don't think that I'm saying I'm at the top and I can see other people that are lower. I'm not saying that. Just pointing out that it can be a very dangerous spot, because if there's still the suffering, if there's still the feelings, the negative feelings that are arising that seem like you're resisting them, then again, that's not full consciousness. Because in full consciousness, there's 100% allowance, 100% acceptance, 100% openness, feeling that there's some emotions that are still rising and that you're closing off to it, you're rejecting it, you're resisting it, right? And as long as that's happening, that's, again, it's you're not healed. If things still trigger you, you're not healed, right? If things still stick to you, then you're not done. You're not done. You're not done. If you feel like you're still running away from something, then again, you're still doing the same escape that is done basically in the lower consciousness. There needs to be, whatever you want to call it. I know some people don't like the word like integration and refinement and maturing because they think it's a one and done thing. Get the experience and then, nothing happening. Nope, not my body. Whose body would it be? Not mine, right? It's like the biggest spiritual bypass that ever existed. because it's complete denial. It's complete denial. It's like denial of the human experience. You're denying the human experience. The human experience is very much, emotions are arising, right? Who knows? I don't know if these ones that are saying that, oh, everything's that there is suffering or there's no suffering, or I don't know. If there's suffering, there's obviously it's not completed. There's still more to go. There's still more work that needs to be done. There needs to be more, whatever it is, practice, integration, refinement, right? So it's just one of those things that I see, because it's almost like you're seeing that some of those kind of people that have that experience, or that, just kind of learned it. It's like you see this with like just about anything else in life, in business, where you're not really even teaching from direct experience, lower, in other people's, let's say business. It's like you're talking about what someone else talked about in their book. So it's not your direct experience. You're almost just read a book and then you're regurgitating it on the YouTube channel and talking about it there. It has to be direct experience, or else it's not going to be authentic. It literally has to, whatever's coming out needs to be coming from that realization. It needs to be coming from source. It needs to be coming from, that's where it's fresh. But if you're kind of like regurgitating almost like this book knowledge, it's what everybody else is doing, really. That's why you can kind of tell what's authentic and what's not authentic, right? And that's where you almost see this with some teachers in the spiritual circles, where they it's like two sides still to them. There's still like you're the front facing, but then it's like don't see behind the scenes, right? Where it's that's not wholeness. That's not completeness, right? So it's just one of those things where it's an easy trap, because there's a lot of levels, kind of thing, you can say. And it appears that there's a lot of levels, but really it's a lot of distortion, right? Enlightenment is really about its clarity, right? It's clarity. It's having that clarity. And that's why at those levels of maybe when the understanding, right, is new, or it's merely intellectual and it's not experiential, and when it kind of, if it feels like it's a memory, then it's not true, because it's here and now. It's here and now. If it's not here and now, if it's not 24/7, and it's just a memory, then it's just an experience. It's just an experience. It's not here and now, right? So whatever it is, it's no judgment or criticism or anything. It's more of just talking about it, because it seems like there's more and more of this, non-duality discussion kind of out. And it's seeing it, listening to a few things and seeing how others are kind of it's very much, again, like another almost belief system. Oh, belief, no doer, no one here, no such thing as feeling the feelings, right? It's like, it's just something else to kind of buy into. right? Like another concept to be conceptualized, right? To be understood intellectually, when really there's more to it, right? So it's more or less just like a warning sign, right? Like just kind of on the spiritual journey, right? You know, sometimes your guide just kind of tells you what to look out for. Yeah, look out for this. If you want to go there and you're really wanting to go there, then hey, you live and you learn kind of thing, right? But also, right, don't say I didn't warn you, because some of these things can very much be, you could say traps, or where you kind of just camp out and stay there, right? Just keep going and have the clarity to then see the signs that if things are still arising that are unhealed, if things are still triggering you, if things that you're still trying to escape from and reject and resist and still clinging to that past experience, which is a memory, then it hasn't matured, it hasn't integrated, it hasn't refined. So, which then, someone in those circles might, well, who's going to be integrating it? Who's going to be refining it? There's no one to refine it. There's no integration that needs to happen. Who's the integrator, right? It's kind of like when you kind of ask those things, it's in denial. What are you denying? You're denying that the body is still existing and there's still this experience and there's still unhealed trauma. There's still wounds that haven't been healed. So, like I said, maybe it's that an experience of love and oneness, and so many beautiful experiences that we can have on the journey, right? But when we cling to that experience and it's just a memory, then it's that love's not always here. It's not always present, right? It's a memory of it. Because if the love is always here, there'd be no wounds. They'd just be healed, right? If the love's always here, there's no separation. There's no dividing yourself. Because the nature of love is unity. Love. It unites. You'd be united as a whole. You wouldn't be rejecting certain parts of yourself. And, oh, well, that experience, I don't want to deal with that. Because there's nobody here to deal with it, right? When you see this, how some people talk like this, you can see it's, like I said, I'm pointing it out because it's a big denial. It's a big rejection. What are we rejecting? We're rejecting the human experience, right? Instead of treating it like, oh, I beat the game. Nobody here. The game, but the game is still, it's still going, right? It's still going. It's still going. It's very much here, right? No game, no player, right? There's still, it's like there's still things to do in the game. There's still things going on. So no player, no game. Just keep going, right? Just deny. It's kind of like that. So it's more or less just a warning that kind of exists. That not kind of exists. It does exist. It almost feels like there's more and more of it, where it's just, again, just another level of distortion. And that's what is very difficult about this journey, is if you don't have the clarity, then you can't see things as they are. Without that higher awareness, without more and more awareness, then you don't have the discerning ability to discern true and false, right? So then that's where someone can kind of just point and just say, hey, this is kind of there, and this is what's happening here, and help you discern. But at the end of the day, it's your choice, and you're going to do what you want to do. Right? So just being a guide, just kind of pointing out things along the path, and just simply just saying what to watch out for. And that's all this is. See you in the next one.